Hello, my name is Sandy Bowman. I'm the director of the Life Center here in Cumberland County, and today's date is December 5th, 2019. And today I'm representing the Historical Society's Genealogical Museum, which is currently located in Greenup, Illinois, just right down the road. And I'm hosting today's archive filming of Cumberland County's people, places, and things. We're trying to preserve stories of unique history from Cumberland County for future generations to enjoy, and I'm sure they will. Here with me today is Bruce McCandlish. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for coming. And I've known Bruce, well, about as long as maybe I've known anybody here in the county. I've known him for quite a while. And we're glad he's here, and we're going to try and get his story down and find out about his history here in Cumberland County. So let's make sure we have your name spelled correctly.
BRUCEMCCANDLISH.
All right. And can you tell me, if you're willing to share, when you were born?
I can't remember too well, but it was 1935
Okay.
on Bradbury Road north of Toledo.
Oh, so you weren't born in the hospital.
No.
We haven't talked to very many people who have been born in the hospital.
Right.
So specifically where on Bradbury Road?
It's about a mile and a half east of Bradbury.
Okay. And your birth certificate is here.
Good.
And let's see what it says. We found out, was it yours, Dorothy? We found out it had some information wrong. But this says you were born in Cottonwood Township, so that's correct. Okay, very good. In 1935.
Right.
And specifically, where were you born?
Well, it's what we call the home place. It was where my granddad built a house in the late 1800s. Anyway, my grandfather...
So specifically where along Bradbury Road were you born?
It was in a house on the south side of the road, right after you cross Cottonwood Creek,
Okay.
which on top of the hill. And my granddad McCandlish built that, or had it built.
Okay.
And it's the north 80 of 160. And my granddad was quite a trader. And there was another 80 on the south 80 that he bought. And they told him he'd never be able to buy that because the guy would never sell it to him. But he ended up with it anyway. So somehow he got that 80 acres.
Okay. So do you know when he built that house?
I'm not sure. There's a picture of the house, and my father's in the yard, and he looked like he's a couple of years old. And the grass needs to be mowed. That was 1893. My father was born. So
Okay.
it had to be around 1890 or so at the latest, at the earliest.
Okay. Okay. And is that house still standing?
House is still standing, good shape.
Good enough shape?
In fact, I lived there,
All right.
which you knew, of
It's
course.
in very good shape,
It's in very good shape.
and you've kept it that way. That's very interesting.
Not only me, but my father built a basement under it in the late 40s. I take that back, the late 30s. They jacked up the whole house and built a basement, full basement. And so over the years, they've kept it up.
Now, where did your grandparents come from?
Well, originally they came from the east, but the last stop was Ohio before they got here.
Okay.
And they had a few relatives here. I don't know whether you're familiar with James McCandlish. He was the first Republican sheriff in Cumberland County.
Oh, okay.
So, but anyway, he was a relative, and so he had a place to come to, and just got started and did okay.
So then the sheriff could form his posse. So tell me about your parents then.
Well, my father born in 1893, and he went to Charleston and the U of I. They called it the normal school, I believe, at Charleston then.
At Eastern?
At Eastern.
But it was a normal school then.
They called it normal, but don't know that's quite how it happened, but he went through high school and college in 6 years. Of course, back then, you could be if you were a high school graduate, you could teach high school, I think.
I think so too.
So, and he taught school for a few years, and farmed with his dad. He had two brothers. I don't know how strong the farming ties were together, but they farmed, so I suppose they helped each other out.
So how many brothers and sisters then did your parents have? How many were in the family?
Well, I think originally there was like 6 or 7 in Dad's family, but the only 2 that I knew that lived in my time were Luke and Owen. So it was only the 3 boys.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And were they all farmers?
Yes.
There in the area?
Uncle Luke had a daughter who the doctor said needed a better climate, and they went to Colorado for her health. And he went, you don't call it farming out there, you call it ranching, and livestock.
Mm-hmm.
He was a livestock buyer down a lot of times Oklahoma and other places and bought cattle. And he married Dr. Rhodes' sister.
So let's talk about your parents. Oh, wait a minute. Is this your grandfather, or is this?
That's my dad, I believe.
This is your dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
And anyway.
So he would have been a younger man then. About
Yes,
that time.
he was quite a bit younger than his brothers. He was the youngest by far, and he never got married till he was close to 40, if I remember right.
Okay.
So when I knew him, I always considered him an older person. I hate to say an old man, but he was quite a bit older.
Mm-hmm. Your dad's name was?
Raymond, Fred Raymond.
Fred Raymond, but he was known as Fred?
Right.
Okay.
And I can't ever remember anybody calling him a nickname, but he used to raise, I believe it was Durocs. I remember seeing Walnut Hill Durocs, which supposedly is the name of the place where we live.
Oh, okay.
The home place.
Walnut Hill?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good name for it.
It is. Then later on, Paul Hawkins up at Oakland was a Hampshire breeder, and we got into 4-H, and so we had Hampshire pigs mainly from then on.
And your father graduated from Eastern, is that right?
Right, Eastern and the U of I. I don't know, I don't think I've seen it in print.
And what about, and so then he was a farmer.
Right.
And raised Durocs. So what about your mother?
Well, she went to nurse's school up at Decatur, and
what was her name?
Elizabeth Butler.
Butler, okay.
And the story about that, I don't know whether you've heard it or not, but you weren't supposed to be married to be a nurse. So before she graduated, she and Dad did get married, and then they had a ceremony later on after it was okay that they be married. She had to be a good nurse. Mrs. Starwalt down there, I think it'd be Carl's grandmother maybe, told me one time, Mother was pretty young, I just probably in the 20s or 30s, 1920s or 30s. Anyhow, Miss Starwalt got ill, and Mother went down and stayed with her for, I think she said a week. And she said, I probably wouldn't have made it if she hadn't come down and stayed with me. So she was pretty content with her care.
Mm-hmm. I guess she was. So she could be married and be a nurse, but she couldn't be married and go to nursing school.
Well, you had to graduate first.
You had to graduate before you could get married.
Things are different.
It's a good rule. Okay. So while she was in school, I've got a note here about a school pamphlet that she wrote, Talking with Violet.
Let's look and see if we've got it.
Let's look and see what we have. And we do have something, Talking with Violet. And it says, is a very active and intelligent woman. She was born April 4th, 1907, and is now 68, so this was written quite late in her life. Fred, her husband, is from Ohio, originally from Scotland and Ireland. And Violet, it says, is in her 5th year with the Genealogical Society.
She was a go-getter. I remember she told me one time she and another group of ladies went to Champaign to see about getting extension in Cumberland County.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they even talked about it. They said Cumberland County's too poor, can't support extension. And it did not make her very happy. But of course, Cumberland County is rich enough to afford extension.
It is, and it has extension today.
Right.
Probably due to her efforts.
And she was right there. And she was also the auxiliary at the Legion. Mm-hmm. She was a charter member of that.
And she was busy with the Genealogical Society very early. I don't know when the Genealogical Society began, but I know she also did a lot of historical study and maintenance for the Cottonwood Church.
True.
So she was very interested in history. And this is her picture here.
Yes, it is. One of the things that she did, she tried to keep track of all the deaths in Cumberland County,
okay,
which is a pretty big area, and she kept them at the library. And she would get irritated when some passer through would say, well, there's a card about so-and-so, I'll just take it. Because they had a lot of people pick up things they should have just had it copied. And she did things you wouldn't think she would do. I believe it was probably Christmas. We each got a bluebell and what's the boy's name? Not bluebell, it's Blue Boy.
Blue Boy, that's this painting right here.
Okay.
Isn't
anyway,
that Blue Boy in this picture?
Right. She made ceramic for each of us, 4 children. Both of them painted them and fired them and everything. And my sister Carolyn said that if she'd have known she was interested, she would have got the greenware and helped her with that. It just popped up one day, and she spent a lot of time doing that.
So it sounds like whatever she wanted to do, she did it, and she was good at it.
And she did some leather work, purses and stuff like they used to do. Had the hammers and made the designs and the leather.
Mm-hmm. And here we have her registered nurse, her exam scores, don't we, for each area?
Yes.
Pediatrics and dietetics, ethics in the history of nursing.
And if I remember right, she must have decided she wanted that and set off and got it at a later date. Because that, I don't know, what is the date on that, Sandy?
The date is January 30th, 1990. So this was quite a ways after the fact.
So she was thinking, and she decided she wanted her grades.
When did your parents get married? Do you know when that was?
Not exactly the date.
Okay.
I just don't.
Now let's see, what do we have here?
Now that's my grandparents' 60th, I think, 60th wedding.
Oh, these are your grandparents. Okay.
And according to that, there weren't even railroads here when they were here, but I think that was maybe an overstatement.
You think maybe there were in 1933?
Well, they got married in the 1800s.
1800s, okay. Well, they wrote quite a nice long article about
They did.
About their 60 years. Very nice. So, how many children did Fred and Violet have?
They had 3 girls and 1 boy.
So you were the only boy?
The only boy.
With 3 girls. And who were the girls?
Dorothy, Carolyn, Donna, and then me, of course, Bruce.
Okay. And they're all still
All
with
still
us
living.
today. And we see them every once in a while, some more often than others.
Right,
But we know Carolyn and Dorothy live right here.
right here.
And where does Donna live?
She lives in Tennessee, about 50 miles south of Nashville.
Okay, so we don't see her quite so often. So let's see, your grandmother was Emma Holzapfel
Right,
McCandlish?
right. And she died just real close to when I was born in that spring. And then my grandfather died that fall. So they both died the year I was born. So I don't remember them at all.
So we talked about your home place, Hickory Hill is what you call it, right?
Walnut.
Walnut Hill, okay. So have you lived anywhere else?
Lived right across creek for several years, and then I lived for 2 years in Charleston. That was during a divorce.
Okay,
So I need to get out of Cumberland County.
okay.
Don't know why, but I did.
But they let you back in?
Yeah,
Okay,
they took a boat.
okay. Well, you were lucky. All right. And otherwise you've lived in the home place?
Yeah, I lived 16 years on the creek, east of Hickory Corner.
All right.
That's my girls would call that the home place for them.
Okay.
So that's where they lived till they were like 13 or 14.
Oh, okay.
But it was right on the banks, so it counts.
That counts. All right, so where did you go to grade school?
Went to Jones.
And where was that exactly?
That was a mile and a half east of where I live. It's a half mile east of Cottonwood Church.
Okay.
And I think I had 3 teachers, Henry Seeley, Brolin Blake, and Joe Carroll. And what I remember about grade school is, of course, we walked till we got big enough to get bicycles. But yeah, I guess it's like commuting. You don't remember the walk. But if anybody came by, it didn't matter. They would stop 99% of the time, and you would just hop in and ride to school or ride home.
Sure.
Never thought a thing about it. Just some of the things we did in grade school, we had they used to call it Annie over. And they would throw the ball across the schoolhouse. Had teams. If you caught the ball, then you could run around and throw the ball to somebody, and then they would be on your team. So that's one of the things we did. And then there were like a dozen larger trees, and we had like, I think they called it King's Base or something. Everybody would have a tree, you try to dart back and forth and catch each other. But one thing we had about a couple hundred yards south of the school was a little pond. And when it would freeze over in the wintertime, we'd go down there and we didn't have ice skates, of course, but we'd have hockey, get a stick and can or something, we'd play on the ice. It probably was maybe a little over knee deep, but it wasn't very deep.
Okay. So if you fell through the ice, you were cold and wet.
Right.
But nothing more.
And the teacher went with us normally.
Okay. For the lunchtime or recess.
Right. And the schools, now this is just my interpretation. Even though we belong to Cumberland County, they ran the school pretty well on its own. So they wanted to raise some money. I remember some box suppers where the women would make a little supper and the boys would go and bid, and then they could eat with whoever meal they got. And I remember one time they found out Dorothy had made one before she and George were married. And the other boys found out about it, and they ran the price way up on George. I think he paid $20, which at that time was a lot of money.
It was a lot of money. She must have been a good cook.
Yeah. And one other thing we did, the school and the church are only a half mile apart. We always had a Christmas program. And we practiced that at the school. And then, always on Christmas Eve, we would have a program at the church. And they'd string a wire across the front of the church and have their little plays and sing their songs. And every kid would get a bag of candy, and they'd buy a bag of peanuts in the shell. And we just ate peanuts in the church and threw them on the floor, and and it was just fine. And the church would be full all the time, every night. And I don't know how they worked it, but.
And you have a picture here, I think, of a school parade.
Okay, that was probably.
That's probably
one of the first Dr. Matt Spring Festival, and we had a float out at Jones, and Donaldine Carroll and Phyllis Titus was on the float. And anyway, I don't know whether we won anything or not, but I ended up with a picture. So.
And that's the Jones School right there in back there.
That's
there's
probably
an angel. Is that an angel standing there, or is that maybe that's the Statue of Liberty? That's what that is, isn't it? I think it's a girl, and it looks like she's holding a torch of some kind.
Okay, but that's a real live person.
Sure. Yeah, but it's a statue, right?
But that's one of the better pictures around the Jones School. A lot of times it needed painted or this or that. You can see the well. Can you see the well right there? Yeah, it's right in here. The well was right there by and that was somebody's chore to fill up the water. Had a water cooler in there, just a glass thing with a spigot on it. But the teacher couldn't have kids going out and getting a drink of water in the middle of the day.
No, we couldn't. We can't have that. All right, so you graduated from Jones School, and what grade would that have been when you left?
8th grade.
8th grade. And then
you went full 8th grade.
And then you went to high school. And where did you go to high school?
Went to Toledo, mainly. That's when Cumberland was in its infancy. So we had transfer buses. I don't know if you've heard about the transfer buses or not. They had a 15-minute before, 15-minute in the morning, and 15-minute in the middle of the afternoon, and 15-minute after school. And the buses would go between Toledo and Greenup. So they only had one biology class. So if you took biology and it was in Greenup, then you went over there took your class and then came back. And,
so those buses were running all day long?
They were running all day long. And
my.
It's kind of slowed things down because you couldn't go home till the last bus was in from Greenup or Toledo, because when you went home, you had to get on your home bus that went to your house.
Okay. How many buses did they have? Do you remember? How many there were that ran?
Enough.
There were enough. Okay, so you made it back and forth. And there's a picture in here of let's see, this is another picture of Jones School, I think.
Right.
Look at all those kids.
It's amazing when you think how many people actually went to a one-room school.
That's a lot.
It is.
And this, it looks like, maybe we don't want to show this.
Well,
A report card?
Report card. Shows I was there.
You were there.
I looked through my records and I did have pretty good attendance.
Okay. And they counted that. Now, I don't see it on yours, but every report card I've seen from this time period, they always put your attendance, how many days you were late and how many days you missed. But they don't have that on here. That's half the battle sometimes. And you got an ag award? You got an award of some kind?
Yes, they call it I don't know whether they still have it. They used to have a DeKalb Agriculture Award, one per school per year.
Okay, and you won that.
I got that, and they had an FFA award. I think I got 3 of them that one year when I was a senior. I swept the field. But
You mean the field of candidates for the
Right.
award, not the
Which-
actual
Which
field?
weren't that many,
Okay.
maybe five or six,
But you were in FFA at that time.
all years.
So you graduated from high school,
Right,
and then did you go to any school after that?
no,
Okay. Did you start working then?
just kept doing what I was doing,
Which was
farming,
farming, working on the farm.
doing what Dad told me.
That's a good plan right there. And then you got married. Is that right?
Yes, actually, I've been married twice.
Okay.
I married when I was like 23,
And
and
that's-
then, is that the Bonnie, that one there?
That's Bonnie.
So raised a family, and they were all gone.
Is that this
And
one maybe?
then I married Bonnie, and we spent 26 years together.
These are both Bonnie. Okay. So who did you marry first?
Glenda Jackson.
Glenda Jackson. And you had how many children? And who were they?
Got 4 children: Teresa, Christine, Andrea, and Joyce.
And where are they now?
They're all over the United States. They're in North Carolina, Colorado, Indiana, and Illinois. And they're the best crop ever raised. Simple as that. Simple as that.
That's a good way to
girl.
put it.
And their families. I only got so much time where I talk about their kids. Got 3 engineers, and for some reason my grandsons aren't getting married like they should. They're getting older, not getting married.
Do you see your children very much, your daughters?
Well, not normally, but I had a little incident a few months ago, and they've taken turns coming to see me and take care of me, so what more can I ask?
So they're truly a blessing.
They are.
So you married then Bonnie, and what was Bonnie's maiden name?
Osland, Osland, and she was from Taylorville, from a
Okay.
coal mining area.
Oh,
So she was named after, not a close relative, but this girl was, I'll say, a teenager, and went down to the store to get a loaf of bread or something, got run over by a train.
oh gosh.
So then they named Bonnie after this girl.
And Bonnie passed away in 2015.
Right.
Here we have, that's got to be you
Right.
and
George
George who?
Cutright. George Cutright.
And who's George Cutright?
He's my brother-in-law, married to Dorothy.
Married to Dorothy. Okay. So did George, and there's I think another picture of
Picture
George.
of George, yeah.
So did George help you on the farm?
He did. He would have helped more, but he helped quite a bit.
And are these your combines and tractors
Right,
here?
right.
That's all yours?
Yeah. Of course, they're long gone now. They don't farm anymore. I haven't farmed for years.
Well, I know you still rake in a good crop of nuts every year, hickory and
Try to.
walnuts. And so through the years, you've been involved in the community quite a little bit
Right.
with several different community organizations. Can
Right.
you tell me a little bit about those?
Well, what's this one right here?
It's
That's
the county board.
I was on the county board.
I don't know if I can-
Not a long term, but a little bit. And,
Well, it says 4 years
right. And,
of dedicated service, so you didn't just show up,
right.
right?
And that was a period of time just before they built the annex and the jail. A lot of discussion about that.
So you were involved in the building of that?
No, I wasn't involved in the building of it. I was involved in the discussion,
Oh,
whether we were going to do it or not.
Okay.
And but it was pretty controversial at the time.
What was the controversy?
Well, it's Cumberland County big enough for a jail, can we build a big enough jail and house prisoners from other counties and make money? And it just, when I was young, there was a town cop, Toledo, Green, Neoga, and maybe one deputy, and that was it. And now I don't know how many it takes to police the territory.
Well, there's enough of them to catch you if you do anything wrong, isn't there?
Yeah, they don't have to run very fast. And any interview should present the fact what a blessing it is that we had Burnham Neal from Toledo, and he has helped so many causes, and he just helped everything. And we're lucky.
I'll vote for that. He really did.
I don't know about the fire station, but I'm sure some of the Neal Foundation money got there somewhere.
I wouldn't be surprised. I know he's been a big blessing to the Life Center. We now have the Neal YMCA down the corner, which is quite a thing for a town so small.
Right.
But it seems to be very popular, and it was through his generosity and his foresight that we have all these things for us to enjoy today, and probably to enjoy many years into the future. So that's a wonderful thing. So you were on the county board.
Right now I'm on the township trustees.
And this is another county board, contributed 4 years, okay. And now you're on the trustees?
And got to get this in here somewhere. But one of the things that I'm most satisfied with is EJ water. Because we didn't have rural water, and church water at Cottonwood never been the best. So I feel like I got the ball rolling, and they're building a water tower now, and it's going to be here. And it's a good thing.
So tell me a little bit about how you got that ball rolling. You said you kind of got the ball rolling. What did you do to get that ball rolling?
I actually didn't do anything except go down to EJ Water and say, Cottonwood Township needs water. Now, Sumter Township got water a few years ago, but they just would not go to Cottonwood Township. And I don't know where everybody was in Cottonwood at that time, so we should have had water then, but we didn't. So they said, well, will you go around and see people? And I did see people. Then I thought, well, that's that. And then a couple of years later, they said, well, for their grant money, they need to have income. So I thought they were going to do it, but they didn't want to do that. So I went around and saw the same people again. And what surprised me, some of the people who said they didn't need water 2 years before, they were ready for it then. It's just an idea whose time had come. Mm-hmm. No.
And so it was by you going around the township, Cottonwood Township, and knocking on doors of all your neighbors and talking about EJ Water.
And taking a little money, because I think it was $125 or so to sign up for water.
And each family then had to send in $100. They didn't just hand you $125.
No.
But it went to EJ Water so that
they communicated with EJ Water to the office. Mm-hmm. So I handled no money at all or took any checks or anything. I was just a front man. But anyhow, it's a good thing.
It's a very good thing. So when are we going to get water?
Well, supposedly, and I've seen in Moniz, they're starting to build a water tower at Centerline Road and Route 45. So they're working on the water tower, and they told me day before yesterday that they're into this month, next month, they were going to, and there's activity. I think my sister Dorothy said they were going to shut her water off for a little bit. So I don't know why, to tie in somewhere. Mm-hmm. But, it's going to be here.
It is going to be here, due to your efforts. And you've worked hard on some other efforts throughout the county also, including here at the Life Center. Is that right?
Yes, I've been involved with the Life Center off and on for a long time.
Well, It's
Yeah, this is a picture, I believe, of me, and I had a young French man stayed with me for a year, and he took some pretty good pictures. Vincent. So, and he took the picture.
And at that time, now the Life Center in this picture is all built, but you were actually involved from the very beginning.
Right.
In
Yeah,
fact,
we were in the planning.
Here's a picture where Dorothy and I were looking at the original plans, and those plans have your signature on them. And it shows that you're chairman of the building committee,
Could be.
if I'm not mistaken.
That's true. I mean, you can't argue with signatures, can you?
No, I can't argue with the documents. We have evidence. It says right down here, Bruce McCandlish, building committee chairman, I think.
Well, like I tell people, most of the people were older, and that's all right. Mm-hmm. But like I say now, we need younger people to do some of the footwork, legwork, mind work to get it done.
Like what you did when you were younger. So you were also active with the Farm Bureau?
Yeah.
Is that this picture?
Yeah, that's kind of a quirky little thing. There was a period of time when they called it rural youth. And it was for young farmers or
Okay.
singles or what you want to call them, you know. And they had a basketball tournament, and there's some good basketball players around here. And since I was here, they let me be with them. But we did pretty good. Well, I think second in the state or something, but probably only 4 or 5 teams. We went up Champaign, played in Huff's Gym, which was a pretty big place.
Okay, it was a big place.
I think it is Huff's Gym, isn't it?
I think so. I think so. So this was your basketball team?
Yeah, that was a basketball team. And you probably know some of them. Maybe not. Maybe not.
You think? I don't know.
Well, Neil Ryan is there, and Dean Walk.
Okay, who else? Oh, does it? No, it doesn't say on there.
Bud Hutton. And this is Charles Cordes. He was the one that got E.J. Water to come into Sumter Township years ago.
Okay.
And that's Sparlin. And anybody who knows basketball in Cumberland County remembers Lloyd Agers. They called him Bad Agers. He was a very good player. And John Thomas.
And so you were active in the Farm Bureau, and you were also township supervisor.
Not supervisor.
Okay. No?
No, don't think so.
You were on the township board.
I was on township board of trustees.
On the township board of trustees.
Right.
And I know you're also active in Cottonwood Church and on the committees and trustees there. This is, you were elected to the Cottonwood Community ASC Committee in Cumberland County.
That's the agricultural part,
From the USDA.
the corn and beans.
Okay, in 1980. December 4th, 1980. So what kind of activities do you like to do now? Is this a picture of maybe one of those activities?
Oh, I like to mushroom hunt, but there's not near as many of them out there as there used to be.
Here, I think this is another picture of mushrooms.
These
are clearly morels.
Used to be a mighty fine thing to do in season. In fact, one time before I was married, I found enough that we actually had a separate Cottonwood church for mushrooms.
Well, that looks like enough. This picture right here, is that what these are?
No, that's different picture, different time.
Well, that's a lot of mushrooms.
It's a lot of mushrooms.
Do you find them all around here?
Well, you like everything else, you have to go out in the woods and find them.
Okay. Are you going to tell me where precisely?
They're always growing right next to the ground.
That's not what I wanted to know.
Okay.
What about military? Do you have any military experience?
Yes, I went in the Army, and
This looks like it right here,
yeah,
doesn't it?
part of them right there, and I've got another page here.
Okay.
One thing I want to touch on, they had what they call selective service,
Yes?
and you're supposed to register when you were 18. And everybody did. But remembering back, you went down and checked where you were, because the people got deferred. If you got married, had kids, all kinds of stuff.
If you were a professional, if you were a teacher or a doctor or a...
There were plenty of, or if you knew somebody. So you would check once or twice a month. You would go say, "Are you number 5 or 15 or whatever?" Well, one day.
So let's talk about this a little more. So there was a list, and everybody was assigned a number. Once you registered for selective service, you had a number in your county, and the higher the number or the lower the number, if you were number 1, that meant the next person that was going to be
That got drafted was you.
That was you. So you wanted, if you didn't want to be drafted, then you wanted a big number, right?
And as you got older, which was my problem, I got older, and you could just got higher.
You couldn't escape.
But actually, I was mushroom hunting one day, and Bud Hutton came up over that evening, and he heard about this reserve unit in Mattoon. Said they want people to sign up for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So we went up there that very night, and Bud was number 1, and I was number 4 on the list to be drafted. But they were ready to sign us up, and we signed up right then, and we didn't go right away, but we were off that 1 and 4.
So you wouldn't be drafted.
Went later on that summer to
Because
basic.
if you got drafted, you had no idea where you might wind up, or...
You're pretty sure you're going to end up overseas.
Yeah.
Well, all of them went to Germany and places. It wasn't really wartime, so you didn't have to fight wars, but it was a 2-year commitment. And this was only 6 months active duty and then 5.5 years reserve.
So you could be called at any time during that 5.5 years. Okay. So, buying fish at Old York, we got a picture. Is there anything else you wanted to add about your military experience?
I really didn't care much for the military.
Okay. Maybe that's enough.
Nobody ever shouted at me before.
Okay.
But,
And probably nobody shot at you since. You mostly worked on the farm. You were a
Right.
farmer most of your life.
Right, and
And
a lot happened.
a lot happened.
A lot of things changed.
There's a note on here about your barn on your home place. Do you know when that barn was built?
Built right at the Civil War time.
So in the
1860s.
Okay.
My mother told me directly one of her ancestors came home from the Civil War and built it.
And built it. Okay. Okay. I got to ask about the cow that was stuck in the tree.
Oh,
Was that a Halloween prank that
No.
you boys decided to do, or how did that happen?
down actually north of where Dorothy lives, there was a line of trees, and there was this double tree went up, and there was an opening in the bottom, and this young calf had decided to stick his head through there and got caught.
I hear there's a picture of it. Is this?
Yeah, somewhere in there. So Dad came, and nothing to do but you get the chainsaw and cut him out.
Cut the tree.
Cut the tree.
You didn't cut the cow. Okay.
I don't, but the way I remember it, we didn't.
So does that look familiar?
That does. I never could understand how we could have such ugly-looking cows, and the calves looked pretty good. I think maybe the bull had something to do with it.
Maybe. That may be. And then here we have some hogs.
Yeah, that's old-time butchering right there. I was going to dig through some older pictures and find more. Jerry was interested in some of the old farm equipment, the old
Oh, yes.
tractors and combine. Just didn't have enough time to do it all.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. So you've got quite a few hogs hanging there. 5? Looks like at least 5. So this wasn't just a family butchering.
When you butchered, a lot of times you call in help from the neighbors. And my mother, I remember her, she would get irritated at my father because he would give away all the goods, you know, the stuff that had to be used right then, you know, and for he liked brains. I never could understand that, but
So that would be the organs that they...
Yeah, the organs.
Mm-hmm.
Mother thought we ought to keep more of them for ourselves. You ever see a marble holder?
No, but I have now.
Well, when you're a professional marble shooter, you need something to hold your shooters in.
So this was handmade, wasn't it? This little marble holder. Boy, they're in there tight, too. Oh, those are nice shooters.
You can't have them.
I can't?
I may go back and start my career again.
Well, you know, I used to have some, but the last time I looked, I have lost my marbles, so I haven't found them. There's your autograph book. Is there anybody's particular you're looking for?
My dad never wrote me very much because I don't write letters and he didn't either. But he wrote a nice
note in your autograph book. So here's a Rubik's Cube certificate. So you are declared to be a cubist.
Right.
In 1981, my grandson.
There were 3 of us went up there to Chicago and competed. Actually, I forget what the name of the building was.
At McCormick Center, maybe, or something.
It was a
Some
big place.
Rubik's Cube cubist. First international Rubik's Cube competition. How about that? Isn't that
Too much
something?
time on my hands.
And here's your Centennial Family Farm Award.
Right.
Means the farm's been in your family for 100 years or more. And in your case, it's more. And you have that big green metal sign that you have posted. And this is the Civil War barn.
Yes. Okay, shall I read it?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
My dear Bruce, I want you to keep growing as you are, and you will be a son that your father will always be proud of, and everybody will like your daddy.
Wasn't that nice?
That's 1944. Such.
That's unusual for fathers to say such nice things to their sons, I think, to their
And
children.
here's one from my mother.
Oh,
Stay always as sweet as you are and grow better every day. Always play and work square or on the level.
that's nice.
So you're through with me?
So, I think so, unless you have anything to add. Sounds like you've had a very interesting life. It sounds like you have, from what I know, which I don't know much, or I don't know everything certainly, but you've stayed on the square and level.
I hope.
Valuable member of the community. He wants to see what this is. This is, it says top this.
I bought one newspaper, and I raised popcorn for several years, so I bought an article in about the popcorn.
Oh, the biggest tree in Cumberland County. So this looks like your niece Lori
Right.
and your sister Carolyn.
Yes.
And it says the Historical Society's quest to find the biggest tree in Cumberland County has turned up a real Goliath of a tree. A lot of people must be out cruising county roads. And this is the biggest tree in Cumberland County.
And you know it's hollow.
Now, I did not know that. How many people can get inside of there?
Well, I've been inside of it.
Okay.
So they used to have hogs around there, and they would go in there. And so,
Huh. So where is this located? On your...
It's right south of where the road goes south, west of my house.
Okay. So this picture was in 2011. Is that tree still there?
Yes.
Okay.
And of course, we didn't talk about, my wife liked to have the fall festival, the pumpkins and gourds.
Now, is this at the Lincoln Log Cabin Historic Site?
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of we went down there.
Isn't that? Look at that dapper, look at those dapper people. And those are all her Indian corn
Right.
and gourds and pumpkins. Oh my goodness.
I don't know how it is now,
McCandlish.
but at one time, at the Lincoln, or at the farm, they had a whole lot of clothes. I mean, vintage clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And people would call up and ask questions because at a certain time they had the buttonholes one way, then they took them the other way. And to be authentic, you had to be the right one for the year.
Okay, have your buttonholes lined up correctly. Well, that's quite a story.
And part of it's true.
Okay, we'll just guess.
Right.
We'll just pick which parts we'd like
Right.
the best, and we'll make those the true parts. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us,
Welcome.
and I think people will appreciate this for many years to come.
Maybe I'll come back in 10 or 15 years and give the second part
We could do that.
because I haven't found one or two things I wanted to find I couldn't find.
I know, and I know you've got it.
I've got it.
If it hasn't been, you've had some help recently.
Yeah.
I don't think they've gotten rid of any,
I don't think so.
anything like that.
But they will get rid of envelopes.
Oh, no.
They take the cards out of. So, but that's all right.
Oh, that's all right. Okay. Well,
But
it's nice that
sometimes
they're here to help you.
envelopes will tell you years and stuff.
Yes, they will. Where things were mailed from and,
Are we
But
still
it's-
on camera?
Yeah.
oh, sure, always.
Oh,
But anyway, thank you so much for sharing this with
Okay.
us. And
Keep
we'll
up
be
the good
seeing
work.
you. Oh, well,
and help keep Jerry doing these, what he does.
well, I'm afraid it's the other way around. It's Jerry that's keeping me busy.
Now are we off camera?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, you're hardly.